Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome to I'll Hang Up and Listen. I am Duane, the host of Two Goalies, One Mic, joined by none other than producer Steve. It's been a minute, Steve, since we've had you on, but it's also been a minute since the Sabres won a hockey game. So how are you?
Doing pretty good. It's always good to see the boys finally win one against the Devils, no less. One of the hottest teams in the Metro right now. So it's good to beat them in regulation. Would have been nice if Columbus could have done the same against the Islanders tonight. But, Long Island only gets away with 1 point tonight. Got to take it where you can get it.
Yeah, I mean, could have, would have, should have. A lot. You can say a lot about the last month of Sabres hockey.
Yeah.
You should have beat Columbus. You should have beat Nashville. Should have won this game. Should have won that game. But at the end of the day, you got to take care of what you could get. You have to control what you can control. And Buffalo hasn't really done that. And I should say hasn't done that at all. I was at the Nashville game the other night with some friends from work, and it was an absolute disaster to watch. And you watch them. It was funny. I just knew heading into this game tonight, and it had nothing to do with the Goatheads, the jerseys. I just knew they're going to show up tonight. They're going to win. They're going to beat New Jersey, a team that is a cup contender this year, especially after the trade deadline. And we're going to see sitting there. It's like, wow, where has this team been for the last 30 some odd days? Because, if this team had been showing up, we'd be in a playoff spot pretty comfortably right now.
Yeah. And it's particularly interesting with the Devils because they're kind of they're like a year or two ahead of the blueprint that we're trying to actualize ourselves here in Buffalo. Just a team of young talent that's just absolutely lethal in transition.
Mm-hmm.
We need to couple that with defense that can hold it down and competent goaltending. And that's exactly what New Jersey has, and that's exactly why New Jersey is in the position that they're in. Yeah, you can acquire a good piece like Timo Meier, but the people that were there this whole year were doing great things the whole time. Jack Hughes having a career year, Nico Hischier doing what Nico Hischier did. Younger guys like Dawson Mercer showing up in big ways. Jesper Bratt just absolutely lighting it up. Just a lot of I don't even want to say unprecedented, just people taking that next step that you need them to take. And then combined with some of the moves they made on that blue line, sneaky little pickups like a guy like Marino. Obviously, picking up Dougie Hamilton's a no-brainer, but they got a pretty solid decor. And Kevin Ball, who I watch a lot when in years past when he was playing with the Utica Comets, he's a solid. You are not going to win a wall battle against that guy very often. He is a fucking massive oak tree of a man. And he's doing a really good job holding it down in that third pairing and making a lot of really nice transition passes. I think at least one of those Jack Hughes goals was a direct result of him making a pass from his D zone to Jack Hughes at center ice or farther out. It's good to beat a team that's doing what we want to do, but better. They're just a little farther along on that trajectory.
Yep. And that's kind of you look at New Jersey to your point, that's kind of the where we want to be. At the deadline they were buyers. clear as day. They were in a position better than we are, or we
Yeah.
were at the time, even without Timo Meyer. And then they had the ability to be so far along in their development and their rebuild that they can make that call. Okay, we're going to go get Timo Meyer, a bona fide 40-plus goal scorer, a guy who's going to, plug right into this lineup, play alongside Jack Hughes, and just be a force to be dealt with. And that's where we want to be, and I hope that's where we are next year. And hopefully for New Jersey's sake, they can sign Timo Meyer because he hasn't signed an extension yet, right?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah. So, hopefully for New Jersey's fans' sakes, they can get that guy signed. It would suck. It would suck if they don't, right? But I don't know. I guess that's why you make the deal. You have enough confidence. It's an arms race in the East, and especially in that Metropolitan Division with the Rangers, the Islanders. It's going to be really it's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the first round, and first two rounds even, and that's why you go out and you pay the price you pay to get Timo Meyer, which at the end of the trade deadline you kind of look at it, it's like really didn't cost that much compared to what other guys went for. I mean, look what what's his face went for to Tampa from Nashville.
Tanner Jeannot.
Tanner Jeannot, yes. Like the price that guy cost was insane. You essentially paid the same price for Tanner Jeannot that New Jersey paid for Timo Meyer.
Yeah. I mean, of all, and obviously New Jersey also has a deep prospect pool. You don't get to be the team you are now if you don't have a lot of young guys with a lot of upside that you work to develop. Yeah. Clearly, they're doing something right in Utica. And they didn't really have to give up a majority of those guys. Like guys like Alexander Holtz are still in the system, and he was a name that was getting tossed around a lot, just given his relationship with Eklund in San Jose's pool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of impressive that they didn't have to give him up. They didn't. I don't believe they had to give up Seamus Casey or Simone Nemec, who are some pretty highly touted defensive prospects. I think they gave up. I believe in that draft they picked up like 3 different defensemen, and they gave up like the latest first round pick defenseman, along with a bunch of other young studs. But yeah, it's a laundry list of picks and prospects that were given up. But all things considered, they kept some of the most coveted names off the board there, which is definitely good asset management on New Jersey's part. Ultimately the biggest question is like, did you want to pay that price for a rental? But obviously I've mentioned it before, but me and my little brother's a diehard Devils fan since day one. So like me and him watch a lot of Devils.
I was actually going to ask you, is that the reason you decided to come on tonight, just so you can just, relish one of the few
I couldn't even talk shit with him because he's working he's got a serving gig. He lives in Nashville. So he's been like, texting me during the intermissions when he has like a second to look at his phone. So like I couldn't even talk shit all night and just be like, but he literally called it in our text messages. He's like, nah, I don't think they're going to turn on the gas. I don't think they're going to win. I'm just hoping Hughes gets a goal or two and breaks his slump and like it ends like 5-4, 6-4. I don't really care. They got to get the win tomorrow night though. If this game's already out of reach, I don't see them like putting on the Jets to come back. And I'm like, but you guys come back a lot. So I'm not totally convinced, I think you guys could definitely tie that game up in the last dying seconds. But no, he called it textbook. I guess my big point is just, the Devils are doing something right, and it was nice to beat them at home in a game that was nowhere near as insane as the last one. I think it was like 80 recorded shots in the first time we met up this year. So it was a little bit more subdued, but the shots that were taken were high danger, and a lot of them beat goaltenders. And tough night for Akira Schmid, but sometimes just that's just what happens. You just have a bad night. I mean, Craig Anderson just had a bad night the other night. I think just about every single goaltender in our arsenal has had a real rough night at least once just this month. So
Vitek Vanacek, we've had a lot of problems with him in the past, even back when he was in Washington. So Nice to get a win against him in that, even though I don't think he would get. I don't think that. No, yeah, he wouldn't have gotten the loss tonight. But still, great to see Tuck 3 points on the night. Seeing the kid line dominate. That's probably, I think, the best game they've played together all season. Hands down, they were all over the ice. I mean, Quinn looked like the player we drafted him to be. Cousins was an absolute bear on the puck. Him and Paterka are all winning puck battles. And I tweeted out earlier, Dylan Cousins really earning that moniker of the workhorse from Whitehorse tonight. Just with all like that, and that at the end of that penalty kill where I think it was Quinn did some good work down low, and on the backhand flipped the puck hard out of the zone, and it was a one-on-one race with the puck, and Cousins absolutely just pushing his way through the defender drew a penalty there, because he's trying to obviously defend from the potential breakaway, and caused a holding penalty. And that's just hard work and hustle on Cousins' part, which is the player we want to see more often than not. And then we mentioned earlier before, the Tage injury, which sucks, but Tage was dominating. He still had some pretty good drives to the net even after the injury, which Don Granato, after the game, announced that he'll be a question mark for the game against the Islanders tomorrow. Hopefully, he's good enough to go. I imagine that'll be probably a Comrie or a UPL game, or not UPL game, a Comrie or an Anderson game tomorrow. And I just that's an important game tomorrow. Very, very important game. That's a 4-point game. Game that needs to be won regulation. For all you Sabres fans, myself included, because I will admit that I still hang on to hope that if you want to get yourself to the playoffs, that you need tomorrow is a, final nail in the coffin if you lose. Like, there's zero hope if you don't win tomorrow night. You'll be all but mathematically out. And need to win that game tomorrow. You need to come out with the same drive that you did tonight. And I just, the Islanders, are a team that have had a lot of peaks and valleys, kind of like Buffalo has this season, but they are still a very tough team to play against with a world-class goaltender in between the pipes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a big battle. I'm sure they're going to be licking their wounds in some regards after taking an L to the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. Sure, they took it to overtime, but I mean, maybe that Michigan might shake Ilya Sorokin's confidence just a tad.
I know, it was a beautiful goal by Johnson. Beautiful.
It felt like a wrestling pop when that went in from the home crowd. It was, oh! They were just like they. It wasn't even just like the yeah. It was just like, holy shit, he did it. It was amazing. Oh man.
Yeah, the former Wolverine pulling off the Michigan, and it was everything that led up to it too. He did the between the legs, going in behind the net, and then just scooped it up and just right in top corner.
It's just ridiculous how fluid it is now. And this has really only been
how often it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been happening a lot more often, but I feel like the first Michigan goal was you could see it happen. It was almost like it was in slow motion because it took so much effort to pull off. But this was just like a choop and just done. It was over before you even knew it happened. It was so sneaky. It was so good. I'm sure if Tortorella was still coaching the Blue Jackets, he would have been benched for that one. But
yeah,
he's made it very clear he does not like that kind of fancy play. But yeah, whatever.
We got a comment here from Paramat Pictures. This team is going to take us down to the wire. Stress. I mean, I don't disagree, Steve. I believe we're going to fan appreciation night. I mean, could you imagine if it comes down to that night? Could you imagine?
I mean, yeah, as of right now, Ottawa, I believe, is still at least a point ahead of us in the standings. So for that night to be the night that could potentially take us because, it's that game, and then the very last game of the season is against Columbus the next night in Columbus. So Yeah, that could be that. Depending on what kind of run they go on in the next couple of weeks here, it could be the landscape of that game could be insane. Arguably one of the most could has the potential to be one of the most important games of the year. But again, that's all contingent on the next like week and a half not being just a week and a half where they lay an egg. And this wasn't just like a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
We need this every single night for the next 3 weeks if we want a hope to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's 10 games. I think you can play your ass off for 3 weeks in 10 games, but it's going to take a lot of work.
With that win, they're 6 point out with 11 games to go. Big. I mean, let's take a look at the scoreboard for tomorrow night. You know what's on the agenda. Who's playing it? Can you bring that up real quick, Steve?
Yeah, I can get that up.
Yeah, and so we're 6 points back with 11 games to go. Islanders getting a point tonight. It'd be a huge 4-point swing tomorrow night to get a win in regulation against the Islanders. Again, a team that, we're very capable of beating. But with that being said, it's still going to be a tough game. I imagine with Sorokin in tonight, we don't get Sorokin tomorrow. And the backup is
Varlamov, if I'm not mistaken.
Varlamov, yep.
Yeah. So as far as the East is concerned, games that kind of directly pertain to us in some way, shape, or form, you could make the argument Detroit versus Philly. Detroit's sneakily still in the mix somewhat. New York versus Florida, obvious implications. Of course, Buffalo, New York, Islanders. Ottawa versus New Jersey. So New Jersey's also on a back-to-back, and they get to take on the Sens. So hopefully they save something in the tank to play against the team directly ahead of us in the standings. Please do that one in regulation. And then Washington versus Pittsburgh. So there's a lot on the docket happening tomorrow that could radically change the landscape. A good handful of the games just being games where it's essentially mutually assured destruction. Washington and Pittsburgh always play hard against one another just because they're constantly finding each other in the playoffs. So, they always go hard. I think Pittsburgh might be feeling things leaking a little bit, as maybe some stuff slipping through the cracks that shouldn't be. They've been on a little bit of a slide. And despite being very clear sellers at the deadline, Washington's still kind of there. Like not like leading the pack by any stretch of the imagination, but like they're still part of this equation. You can't count them out until it's over.
No, you can't.
So that game obviously has giant implications for one of the teams that's actively in a wild card spot. Ottawa obviously needs to be beaten just for our own benefit as we try to lessen the gap. And then obviously you kind of hope New York can take some wind out of Florida's sails to, make it so they don't climb any higher than they've been climbing, because they're kind of doing a little bit better lately. And that's been a team where you're like, I don't know, they might miss the playoffs, and that's kind of, after some of the moves you've made, that's kind of a scary precedent to set for the following year. So yeah, there's a lot happening tomorrow night, and first bit of it is Detroit versus Philly. If you want to just see what Detroit's up to.
Yeah, and that's Detroit, another team too. I mean, like the entire Atlantic division is just going to be a bloodbath for the next couple of years. I know I've already used that term once, but it's so true. And the East just got so. I honestly, it's kind of wild, kind of how the shift from, I want to say shift, but how much better equipped the East is right now and for the future than the Western Conference is. Which is, in my opinion, does that kind of put pressure on Kevin Adams a little bit, knowing that the teams, especially in your division, are still pretty stacked for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the entire month of March should make it clear to Kevin Adams that maybe you need to make a bigger splash in the offseason. Like obviously the moves that were made at the trade deadline, somewhat helpful, but conservative. Greenway's kind of like a passion project. He knows Donnie knows him. Donnie sees potential. But I think ultimately what we're getting out of there is just a natural younger replacement for Kyle Okposo's what seems like inevitable exit. I think we're sadly getting to that point where Okposo is back to being a step or two behind every play. He's just not contributing like he did last year when he was having that renaissance year where it was just kind of like the comeback of Captain Kyle. And now it's just kind of like
the comeback of Captain Kyle.
Yeah, and I liked it too, but like now it's just kind of like he's there. He's not like a detriment like he's been in years past. He's not like actively hurting the team, but he's just kind of there. And obviously, I think Kyle Okposo is the kind of guy that has that self-awareness that maybe he knows that, maybe for the betterment of the organization as a whole, it's like maybe I should hang him up. And I think it's kind of safe to say at this point, if he wants a front office job, he can have one. I don't think anyone's going to like try to tell him maybe you're not qualified. I think he could definitely add something to this organization on, more on the back end rather than, lacing him up and risking another concussion or something.
Yeah. He's definitely going to stick around and be a part of the organization.
Oh, without a doubt.
Away from the ice for sure. And here's the thing. You've seen kind of the line shuffling and the questionable lineup changes or calls that Donnie has made. And I love Kyle. Like, I love everything he brings to this team on and off the ice especially. But the Sabres hamstrung themselves by putting the C on him. They really did. Maybe he did deserve it, sure. But it's kind of, if there's a player on the ice that should be scratched once every 4 games, it's probably Kyle Okposo. It's not for a lack of effort. It's not for a lack of a player who goes out there and hurts you, hockey IQ wise. It's just the fact that Father Time has caught up with him and he cannot keep up with the play. And it sucks. It sucks that, you wish you could have this healthy version of Kyle Okposo, a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? You wish you could, turn back the clock on him and, get this guy at 28, 29, 30 years old even. And, but you don't. You got, how old is he now? 35, 36?
I believe he is 36 now.
Yeah. So unfortunately you don't have that guy. You have a 36-year-old Kyle Okposo who is going to go out there, is going to give everything he has every single shift, but he just cannot keep up with the play. And, I can't see them. I can't see them justifying, captain or not, taking up another roster spot next year for Kyle Okposo.
Yeah. My retraction. He's 34, but he will be 35.
Okay.
At the very end of this, April 16th.
So 35 is in hockey years. That's like 50. You're not 50, but you know what I mean. Like,
that's like
45. Like
that's like
he's got a lot of miles on those legs. He's got a lot of miles on his body. The concussion problems, the injury history. Like, he's not the same player he was when he was first, brought in here in free agency.
No, not at all.
When he signed that $6.5 million per year deal, he's just not the same guy.
No.
So I don't think you can justify bringing him in again. I just want to real quick, just a Tage Thompson, appreciation moment here. If you'll just indulge me here real quick here for a second, because this is the first time, in my opinion, in a couple of weeks where I watched Tage Thompson from start to finish. I mean, again, he's not healthy anymore because he got hurt, early in the game. But up until that moment, I felt that he was healthy. He looked 100%. He didn't look like he was hampered by anything. And he was all over the ice. And just this goal, look at him just streak up the ice. The D-man has steps on him, can't keep up with him, uses his size, just lowers his head, forehand, backhand, top corner. Absolutely beautiful goal here from Tage Thompson.
Yeah, and I mean that's ultimately how all of those first 3 goals went. Like just clear separation from defensemen, lethal shooters in all alone.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, Schmid got a big old Schmid mark. That was
he did not stand a chance.
Like that's the kind of thing that's been happening to us for a month. There's absolutely no one there to bail out your goaltender. So there's only so many times that you're just going to rob someone blind. Eventually, you're going to get beaten. Unfortunately, those were like not even the first 10 shots that Schmid faced. It's like, what do you do? Just pass it to Dylan Cousins right on the doorstep. All he has to do is a little dip, boop. And then you see Tage Thompson bear down the side just like that. And then Dylan goes, "Hold my beer, Jack. I want to feed you one." And then Jack Quinn just fucking rips it home. Like,
yep.
Kid just had no chance. And like in the first 10 minutes, like, honestly, smart move on Lindy. It's like, it's cool, buddy. It's just not your night. It's fine.
Like I said,
I'm not going to keep you out there to get shellacked.
And obviously the chances of the Sabres getting into the playoffs are very, very, very low. And, if and when they don't make it, I think I hitched my wagon to Lindy and the Devils just because that's the only guy I want in the NHL right now. I want to see win a Stanley Cup is Lindy Ruff. That's it. So that'd be nice, feather in his cap, to really cement himself as a Hall of Fame coach. The amount of time he spent in the NHL.
Yeah.
He had a great career with the Sabres, good defense, good, solid, grizzly, hard-nosed defenseman. I think he actually played defense and he played forward, I want to say. I remember for who the goalie was for the Islanders. Remember Billy Smith intentionally hit Lindy Ruff in the face with his stick, and Lindy just fucking lost his mind and beat the shit out of him. Oh man, it's a fantastic video clip. If you ever get the chance to look, but real quick, let's just bring up the box score for tonight's game. Obviously, kicking things off is internet is a fickle thing. There we go. Internet can be a fickle thing sometimes. Sorry, people. So 5-4 win for Buffalo. Buffalo moves to, is it 35-31-6 or is it 34-31-6?
I believe it might
sometimes
be.
NHL.com doesn't have these things.
Yeah, it does.
Right away.
Not right away, no.
Anyways, Alex Tuck with 2 goals and 1 assist. Dylan Cousins with a goal and assist. JJ Paterka continuing a point streak, 2 points, 2 assists. Jack Quinn with a goal and an assist. Darlene with that beautiful assist to Alex Tuck. Shot was 1,000% directed at Tuck stick for the redirect. Just such a heads-up play by Darlene. Peyton Krebs getting on the score sheet with an assist. Victor Olofsson with an assist. That might be his 10th assist of the season, I think. Skinner with an assist on the beautiful Tuck goal that went barring in from the tie slot. And then Tage Thompson with a goal. UPL with 27 saves on 31 shots against. But he made some key saves when the Sabres needed it most.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hard-pressed to put really any of the goals against too much on UPL. He came up with the timely saves when they mattered. Whatever, 4 goals against, I don't really care how many, as long as we end up scoring more at the end of the game, that's all that matters to me. At this point in the season, I don't care what our goaltenders' numbers look like as long as we're winning hockey games. And then for the New Jersey Devils, Jack Hughes with a big night, 2 goals and an assist. He had 1 goal, which was disallowed. Kevin Ball with a goal and an assist. Jesper Bratt, Dougie Hamilton, Eric Holla, Nico Heischer, Michael McLeod, and Damon Severson, all with assists. And then obviously we saw both goaltendings tonight. Akira Schmid with 4 saves on 7 shots against, and then Vitek Vanacek came in relief, 17 saves on 19 shots against. Again, Buffalo took it to one of the best teams in the National Hockey League, a team who was 45-19-8 coming into tonight. you play like this every single game. If you meet the moment, you'd be in a playoff spot right now, but you haven't been able to do that for the past 30 days. And now you're in such a deep hole right now. I don't know. Even if you did, go with the last 11 games, say you go just for, 9-2, that still doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah. It's definitely a tough hole. They dug it themselves. But yeah, I mean, it might be a blessing in disguise at this point because, again, as we've addressed, it might make Kevin make some bigger moves at this offseason, I mean, again, the people that they got, low risk could potentially be high reward. From what we've seen, Stillman is technically better than Bryson and Clegg. But is he the guy you want in your third pair? Maybe there might be somebody a little better. I don't know. But pretty much if your name's not Power, Dahlin, or Samuelson, I don't care what you're doing. I would just prefer you're not on my blue line. So, yeah. And then Greenway is probably just going to end up being a bottom 6 guy for a minute, more likely than not. There's definitely
belongs in the bottom 6. He belongs in the bottom 6.
Yeah, which that's not a knock. It's just when you've got offensive power like Thompson, Tuck, Skinner, Cousins, Quinn, Paterka, I don't think any one of those guys should be taking a back seat to admittedly a good player, but just not as good offensively as one of those individuals. I think a potential Krebs, Yuri Kulich, Jordan Greenway, third line, that could be fucking fun. Because if Greenway's winning wall battles, finding Krebs, and Krebs is making a sexy little pass to Kulich, that's
yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of people are still kind of, are disappointed about the, lack of production from Jordan Greenway. Obviously he's hurt right now, but I mean, I'm not that upset just because the guy's not going to adjust to this team overnight. Even it's going to take a little bit. So for me, I think next season is really, the telling point of where, how he fits in. He gets a full off season, to get to know the guys on his team. Mm-hmm. A training camp, get in the weight room, kind of learning and just gaining that chemistry with his teammates. I would say the start of next year is really, the telling point for Jordan Greenway. And I do believe he's a bottom 6 guy, but I think there's still a lot of holes that you need to fill out on this hockey team, on your blue line. I still think as much as I love the kid line, I guess it really depends on how good of an offseason they have. I'd still like to see them bring in like a Jason Zucker. I know he's available in free agency. He's only 30 years old. A guy, a veteran winger who's played on the wing of Crosby. That was a name that popped out to me a lot this past week when I kind of tweeted out, I'm like, realistically, what lineup could you potentially see the Sabres field next season? And one person put Jason Zucker in there. I'm like, I like that. I like that idea a lot because I don't see Pittsburgh bringing him back at all. He's a veteran. He's played on a line with an absolute superstar in Sidney Crosby. And I'd like to see a guy like that, to, help a young Dylan Cousins more, even though the kid's line seems, I don't want to say it slots right in as your second line next year, but obviously they've been on again, off again this season. I like the idea of bringing in a guy like Jason Zucker to help the youth of this hockey team. If we're talking offensively, because I think you really need to focus on defensively and that for next season.
Yeah, I mean, defense and goaltending are the two biggest parts of this equation.
Yeah, I like this. Goatheads from here on out might as well summon the power of El Diablo. I don't disagree with that. I mean, we got nothing to lose, honestly. Yeah. I mean, hockey is full of superstitions. Trust me, I've had them. I remember hearing a story on After the Whistle from Craig Rivet about when he was in Montreal with Patrick Waugh, and he was in the locker room alone by himself, and Waugh's equipment was sitting there, and he said he threw on Waugh's blocker and glove and started going like this, having fun with it, and Waugh walks into the room, and Waugh looks at him and goes, "Have fun? You like that?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, it was great." He says, he looked at Rivet and said, "Never touch my fucking equipment again." And that was the end of it. No, he never touched his stuff again. But hockey is just a game full of superstitions, and I don't know. Maybe you want to buy into this one, not because it works, but because it does work. Maybe the players do, in their own mind, feel like they play a little bit better in that jersey. I don't know. I don't think not saying it's right, but again, it's a game full of superstitions. You have pros who have been wearing the same long underwear and jock straps since junior high school hockey. Who's to say that, maybe the superstition of the goat head maybe lingers a little bit with them too. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if the team puts it to a vote and they say, this is the jersey we want to wear for the rest of the year, do you tell them no?
Mm-hmm. Jokiharju would be a better fit for the third pairing and fill in where there is an injury in the top four. I agree. I've said it since the start of the season. I think Jokiharju is a third pairing guy. I don't think he fits in your top four unless, like Greg said, unless there's an injury to somebody in the top four, like right now with Samuelsson. Good job getting goals early. Didn't like that. We sat back in the third. Goaltending and defense is the most obvious issue with this team. Don't mean a nitpick. Great hit by Dahlin. Happy to get a W. That was a phenomenal hit by Dahlin.
Love a reverse hit.
Yeah, Matt Larkin, I forget what he writes for, but he was complaining that that's a dangerous hit. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. I mean, listen, he sure knew that hit was coming a mile away. He saw Dahlin coming. He had every intent to hit Dahlin.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, no, this is hockey. It's a physical sport. Why does Dahlin have to answer for that hit?
I mean, that's been the MO of the entire year. People wanting to throw hands after clean hits, and I guess I mean, honestly, what it really is that that hit was thrown against Nico Hischier and not against a guy like McLeod or Sarangovic. If that same hit happened from Dahlin on one of those guys, you probably don't get that whole team little kerfuffle. But because it's an assistant captain on an assistant captain or the actual captain,
I just don't
agree. You come and you have a few words and you give them the mitts, and both of those teams don't have somebody who's going to throw down, not really throw down. So that's all it's ever going to be. It's just going to be a lot of shit talking and face washing, and they'll separate, but they'll let them know, hey, don't do that. But again, there have been plenty of unnecessary fights over perfectly clean hits all year. But that one, I think it's just, you hit my captain. I'm required by the code to say something. Like,
yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I do. Bring it up right here real quick. Share my screen here real quick with you guys. I just don't understand why this needed to be answered for. I get to Steve's point. I understand it to an extent, but it's a clean hit.
Yeah, it is a clean hit. He also kind of got low when he didn't really need to. So he kind of took Dahlin's ass in his face a little bit, which I guess is.
And here's something I want to point out too. And I deleted my tweet, and I wish I didn't earlier. I am sick and tired of watching Zemgus Girgensons watch not just guys like elite players in the gym, watch them get mugged. Like right there at the end of this video, you watch him coast in. Watch him coast in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jokiharju, the least likely to scrap, he's trying to play the puck.
Look at him. He's standing there watching it. I'm sick of this.
Yeah. Krebs didn't hesitate. Kyle didn't hesitate. Yoki Haru's playing the game because the whistle hasn't been blown dead, which, is smart hockey. But
there's a guy, I forget it, Kevin on Twitter, and he was one of the first respondents, like, that's Yoki Haru's job. I'm like, sure, but Yoki Haru's not wearing a letter.
No.
Yoki Haru's not wearing a letter. So, to me, that's more on Girgensons than it is on the 190-pound Finnish defenseman who, honestly is never known for any physical side of his game at all. He's more of a finesse defenseman. But Girgensons is a guy who plays a hard blue-collar game, and he wears a letter. He's most, next to Kyle Okposo, the most tenured player on this roster. He needs to have his gloves off. Not even have his gloves off. And I understand at the end of that entire scrum, his stick was down on the ice and he was trying to challenge. I forget who it was he was trying to challenge. But too little, too late at that point. You need to be right in there immediately, just like Kyle was. Protect your superstar there. It was a clean hit. There was no reason Darlene should have to answer for that. And it should not be Kyle Okposo jumping into that scrum head first.
Yeah. You don't need to get your dad to fight your battles. Fight your own battles.
Just a thought. But before we wrap things up here, obviously Devin Levi got his first practice in with the Buffalo Sabres today. I tweeted out earlier from the two goalies when Mike Handel. He did some puck tracking drills. Had a nice glove save and a small ice drill right around the top of the paint where he had 5 guys, passing. I used to watch Hasek do that a lot back in the day. Hasek used to love those drills where it's constantly moving back and forth to keep the puck out. They used to end every practice with that drill with Dom back then. That's how they would end practice. And that's the way he liked it. And he made a really nice glove save. I forget who was on, but Devin, getting a step closer to possibly debuting for the Buffalo Sabres. I don't think it'll come on Monday. I think they'd probably want him to have like a full weeks of practice in, right? Like you'd have to imagine. There's no way he starts on Monday.
Yeah. For my own personal selfish benefit, I'm going to the game next Friday against the Rangers with my dad. He's been a Hawks fan since day one, so now he wants to see Patrick Kane play with his new team.
Yeah.
So I really hope it's next Friday because that would be absolutely bonkers. I would love that.
Well, if you play defensively like you did tonight, you play offensively like you did tonight,
mm-hmm.
And you get the timely saves. And just to go back on that defensively, I mean, you were controlling your gaps. You were playing physical. You weren't puck watching.
Active in front of the net.
Yes. You weren't puck watching. You weren't staring down at the puck. Rather, you kept your eyes up, eye level, watching their eyes. Keeping their body in front of yours. You had active sticks. Something I've really been very critical of with this team over the past couple weeks is just their inability to have active sticks and just constantly be staring down at the puck rather than staying in lanes and, keeping to your man. They tied up their men in front. And I don't know what the prognosis is right now on Sammy coming back. I know it originally was a week-to-week designation, how far out he is from being back in this lineup. But I don't know. Hopefully maybe by that Friday game we do have him back. I'd like to see Devin Levi. I think Devin's the type of kid you don't really have to control what team you put him in against. I mean, sure, it'd be nice to start him against Montreal. He's a Quebec kid. I'm sure he would love that. He grew up loving Carey Price and Roberto Luongo. Luongo obviously is the reason why he was drafted by the Florida Panthers. I want to say part of the reason maybe why he wore number 1 at Northeastern, even though he says number 27 is his favorite number. But I would like to think that given the opportunity to play against a team like the Rangers, he would step up to the challenge. We've obviously got to know him through the show. I've had conversations with him. He's got a great head on his shoulders. And, the comparisons to Ryan Miller are real. They really are. I think he would gladly accept that challenge and say, bring it on. Let's go. And it would be nice, like you said, selfishly, to see him, debut against a team like the Rangers, who's a heavy favorite out of the East this year.
Yeah. Which brings us back to the Devils. How insane would a Devils Rangers first round be? That would be fucking nuts.
You were a Seinfeld guy, right?
Yeah. We're the Devils.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know.
Oh yeah, I got to bring that up now.
Oh man, that would be so.
I got to bring that up now. But
pain in my face.
Okay.
Why?
It's support the team.
Yeah, no, for the team. Got to support the team.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. But I mean, yeah, they made some interesting. Obviously they got Patrick Kane, but they also picked up Nikola and Vladimir Tarasenko, who have both been, well, more so Tarasenko. They've been gelling pretty well. In their new teams, playing their new roles. So to see them load up like that, to potentially like really get a run for their money against the New Jersey Devils, who pretty much did nothing but acquire Timo Meier, is just like the bacon bits on top of their team, would be absurd. Like, it would be bragging rights for the next 5 years if the Devils were just like, you just spent the farm and we still beat you in 6.
Yeah.
That would be, I would personally love it.
Devils fan.
Well, since I was a kid, I'm from Jersey.
Great.
Yeah? Well, we're going to kick your butts tonight.
Hey, no way, man.
Yes.
We're primed.
All right, you almost ready? Because Jerry and Kramer are going to be here in a second. What the?
So what do you think?
What is that?
I painted my face.
You painted your face?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, support the team.
I love that you're out there.
Well, you can't walk around like that.
Why not?
Because it's insane.
Oh, hey, you gotta let them know you're out there. This is the playoffs. Yeah. Hey.
Dave's painted his face.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Well, you got to support your team. Huh?
Okay, ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's get it on! Let's go, Devils!
Oh, that's classic. That's absolutely classic.
Oh man. Yeah, so I'm rooting for that. That's gonna be hilarious. And I'm gonna be a big putty out there. I'm gonna be supporting the team.
Yeah, support the team.
Gotta support the team.
Hold on.
Oh man.
Last one. Just indulge me this one last time. When the priest, the scene with the priest, which is fantastic.
Oh no.
Oh my god. You had to bring you did this. You brought it up. So
Well, I mean, it's a likely outcome of what's gonna happen in real life. That's the best part about these Larry David shows, is when stuff like this happens in reality.
Yeah, all right, that's enough out of you. There's still 3 more games left in this series, my friend, and it's far from being over. Very far from being over. What?
Hey, what are you doing? Watch where you're driving, man. Don't mess with the devil, buddy. We're number 1. We beat anybody. We're the devil. Diablo. Dios mío. Diablo.
Oh man.
oh my god, man. It's fantastic. Fantastic. El Diablo.
So anyway, this is a Devils podcast now. Jesper Bratt is the greatest player in the National Hockey League. We are going to be rebranding everything about the signage we have here. Go Devils. Yeah, not tonight. We put El Diablo to bed and told him not tonight, buddy.
We went full Constantine on his ass. Which, did you see that? They're coming out with Constantine too.
Oh, geez.
With Keanu.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
You don't like that?
There are so many things. Like, I'm of the camp that sometimes you should just let a movie just be the one movie. Let it be good. Don't remake it. Like Constantine was fine.
They're just continuing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're continuing the story, but like I don't know, man. I've just seen a lot of like intellectual properties get like retooled and reworked, and it just wasn't necessary. Like we just had an Evil Dead remake a decade ago, now we're doing another one. And I was surprised that the one 10 years ago was any good. I'm kind of scared that the one coming out in April is going to just be like real bad Blumhouse, just jump scare garbage.
But I want to say it might be on HBO Max. They're doing a prequel series of Jason Voorhees, Camp Crystal Lake. I can't remember if it's a Netflix series or if it's HBO Max, but it's everything that led up to what happened to him as a child, which could be interesting, depending on how they spin that. Because there was never anything really told to us, about, other than he was drowned and the camp counselors, weren't paying attention. That's really about it. But,
yeah, that's pretty much it. Just neglectful, horny teenagers did a bad job at their summer job, and a kid died. That was pretty much the origin story.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, there's definitely potentially something there, I guess. I guess they, since they're real, I'm not super familiar on the lore, so maybe they have a lot of creative license to mess around with. I could definitely see it just being kind of like a weird, like true crime thing where it's like, what made Jeffrey Dahmer so weird, or what made Ted Bundy so weird.
It'll be on Peacock. I'm sorry, so it'll be on Peacock.
So many streaming platforms. I don't know how anyone affords them all.
Like not that we're making this into a movie podcast, but last summer, another installment of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Apparently, Jennifer Love Hewitt's returning.
Oh my god!
Welcome to Derry on HBO Max.
So like an It series?
Yeah, an It series.
It's
gonna star Bill Skarsgård, if that pronounced it. He was a great actor. I like him a lot. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Hopefully, good stuff coming down the pipe. In terms of movies and series. Again, I promise this is not a reality TV or movie or horror slasher podcast. This is still.
Yeah, no, this is our take on Puck Soup Stick to Sports, the special shows where Greg gets to come back because they're exclusively not talking about hockey.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I do want to take one moment, though, real quick. I know I helped introduce Nick to Del Reed of 26 Shirts last year. I think it was. Maybe it was a little bit over a year ago. His son, Eddie. I'm not sure of his age at this point. A lot of you might have seen him on Twitter. Eddie's Warriors, or the group that follows Nick on his journey with his son, who's I believe he has a heart condition. I want to say, I don't want to speculate what his exact condition is. I know I've read it before, but he's in the hospital again right now on a breathing tube. Just want to let him know that our thoughts are with him and his son. As he fights for his life. So Nick and Eddie, you're on our thoughts tonight. And I tweeted out earlier, I never met Eddie, but I can confidently say I've never seen a more brave and uplifting child in my life, no matter what the circumstance. He smiles and fights on. If you follow Nick, that hospitals have become a part of their life, but they will never stop. But Eddie will never stop fighting. And don't stop fighting tonight, Eddie. Get out of this on the other side, on the right side of things, and a couple of clicks for them.
Absolutely, Eddie, you're a tough kid.
Yeah,
you're a lot fucking tougher than I'll ever be.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a heart condition, and Nick reported out on Twitter earlier tonight that he needed assistance breathing, so they have him on a breathing tube so he can sleep more comfortably. So get through tonight, bud. I know they're massive Bills fans, and hopefully Bills Mafia rallies around him as they always do. And
absolutely,
he gets through the night through your inspiration. So with that being said, guys, on that note, I got nothing else left. Steve, do you?
No. Go Sabres. Go Devils in the playoffs. Paint your faces. Have a good time.
Get your faces. That's got to be a thing for them too. Like, on the boards, you got to have face painters.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I don't think they're letting you in the stadium without face paint.
They shouldn't.
Or better yet, that should be like the giveaway item as you come into the stadium. They'll
paint your face for you.
Oh, hell yeah. Get there at 6 o'clock.
Or get you one of those little plastic masks that have the David Putty.
Yeah, the David Putty paint. Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
So, but I also do agree here on out. Home games should be played in the Goathead jersey or away games if you feel frisky about it.
Just every game.
Just every game. Just Goatheads. Bring back the white Goathead. Screw it.
Yeah, we're the white Goatheads on the road. We're the black Goatheads at home. Just
like
the goats.
Yeah, game full of superstitions. Just go with it. Just go with it. Do whatever you can.
If you go with the white Goatheads again, just wear the blue pants, please.
So, I'll hang up and listen. Remember, this is brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case on George Herman Boulevard. For all your remaining Sabres game day and game night needs, make sure you get over to Outlet Liquor on George Herman Boulevard. Make sure that you let them know that the guys from Two Goalies with Mike and Hauling Up and Listen sent you. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully we pull out a win against the Islanders, and let's go Sabres.